Hello, this is John Jacobson, and this is my term project. I decided to do an introduction to Pinyin as my learner management system. Pinyin is a system which allows English readers and speakers to read, speak, or write as a system for translating Mandarin. The learning objectives are remember key facts of Pinyin's history, recall the prominent tones used in Pinyin, identify and produce the 5 tones used in Pinyin, count to 5 in Pinyin, analyze simple greetings, and identify an appropriate response. For the implementation, I used graphics and video, which I incorporated into HCI-520, which was the site that I used for formatting my design, and then I implemented pretest, post-tests, and segmented chunks. I used Adobe Illustrator to create images that I wouldn't be able to use with my keyboard, creating the tones, and then I also used Adobe Premiere to create videos and then use those images as overlays.
回头见
I settled on Articulate 360 because it would allow me to include videos, images, and text, but also it had tools like matching, fill in the blank, multiple choice, and flashcards, which I wanted in my system. One hurdle was that Articulate does not allow you to receive results from the pretest and the post-test, so I was able to get around that by creating a pretest in a separate section and then having the learners go ahead and continue into the regular course and the post-test. This allowed me to compare analysis from both tests. I used a number of principles from HCI-520. Multimedia, this was applied by using pictures and video to explain how tones are read, said, and written along with the English letter combinations. Contiguity, this was applied by keeping text and corresponding graphics in close proximity to one another. Modality, I incorporated videos where a native Mandarin speaker pronounced each word or phrase phonetically. Each video was also included how the word is spelled with the correct tones as well as the English word that it translated to. Redundancy, this is somewhat arguable, but I believe that my system is an exception because it's a language program. And then coherence. There was only important information. Everything was really concise. Personalization. The instructional script was developed to be friendly and welcoming, which is very important with new novice learners. The learners were also allowed to learn at their own pace and could go back and forth as they wanted. I think this could have been improved by introducing a social function that compared testing successes against others to kind of compete with. Segmenting and pre-training. The course was broken up into small, digestible chunks. The learning objectives of the learner were introduced at the beginning of the pretest and at the beginning of the course for a second time. So this allowed the learner to know how they would be tested and the type of questions they would expect to answer in the post-test. Practice. The course offered videos that the learner could use to practice their pronunciation of the phrases or tones. There was also flashcards for a memory check, and then the learners were allowed to review these components at any time before initiation of the post-test. Learner control. Learners had full ability to learn at their own pace. Like I said before, they could go freely throughout the sections to review how they wanted to. Thinking. Learners were required to take their knowledge about tones from previous lessons and incorporate them into learning new content. This encouraged them to read numbers of phrases for the first time and apply this knowledge to the new situations. Then they were asked to compare their phonetics to the speaker in the video. Learners could obtain feedback by analyzing the videos compared to their own pronunciation. FAR transfer. Learners can use the tones and lessons they learned in the course and apply them to discovery of new pinyin combinations. Early pilot runs of my original system brought up a few changes that needed to be made. There were numerous typos in the copy itself. Some tones were misplaced in the graphics, and some inaccuracies were discovered in the content. More importantly, I did not like that I would be dependent on my participants to follow instruction to send me photos or screenshots of their progress. So that's when I decided to implement my course design into RISE. And this gave me immediate feedback and analysis of how the learner did on the pretest and the post-test, how much time the learner spent on the course and post-test, the names of the participants, the percentage of completion in the course by learners, or if they even started, which was valuable because then I could reach out to them and ask them if they needed help. It allowed me to learn which answers the learners got correct or partially correct. And then it also allowed for me to evaluate how the group of learners did on the quizzes as an average and the average time it took for completion. The questions were, Pinyin is used to translate which language? What is the phrase in the picture? How many prominent tones are in Pinyin? What number is this? Pinyin is a romanization system. What does this mean? Match the numbers. Use the image as reference. Match the phrase with the correct letter. Use the image as reference. Which tone is the speaker using? Who uses Pinyin? Select all that apply. When did Pinyin become the official system used by China? And what is being said in this clip? Participants were recruited via the CDM participant pool and through reaching out to friends, family, and colleagues. 13 participants out of 22 completed the full course. The mean of the pretest score was 4.08 with a standard deviation of 1.8. The post-test resulted in a mean of 7.85 with a standard deviation of 2.41. I calculated then an effect of 0.78. This effect is larger than 0.5, which concludes that the effect is almost large. The t-test resulted in a p-value of 0.0003, which is way less than 0.05, resulting in a difference that is real and significant. For further research and development moving forward, there are several things that I would add to increase learning in the system. I would add checkpoints to each section for the learner to review before moving forward in the system. In these checkpoints, I would include questions or problems for them to solve. One thing that I appreciate about Rosetta Stone is that they use voice analytics to confirm that the learner is saying the phrases correctly. I investigated this and found some great options and some code, but my limited skills made it difficult to incorporate. Furthermore, I would offer a warning to the learner before they started the post-test, as I had one learner who accidentally started it before they were ready. In future lessons, I would incorporate Mandarin characters for the learner to get accumulated to. I would add more social qualities, which would also include learner engagement and personalization. This was noticed when participants were aware of each other, they would compete for the best score. When it came to scoring the test, I would find a format that would allow me to offer partial credit to questions and weigh them differently than just the 1 point.